It's one thing for a music star to fall off the charts. It's another to end up in a federal courtroom, facing decades behind bars. All because of a scheme so wild it sounds like a Netflix series. Sean Kingston, the same guy who gave the world
Damn all these beautiful girls,
and sang alongside Justin Bieber, went from platinum records to prison walls. And the road from teen heartthrob to convicted felon? It's a roller coaster of fame, money, scams, and one very oversized TV. Sean Kingston's story didn't start in a fancy mansion or with stacks of cash. It began with a teenager in Florida who had a big dream: to become rich, famous, and heard by the whole world. His real name was Sean Anderson, and back then, nothing about his life screamed superstar. But he believed he could make it. In 2007, at just 17 years old, that belief turned into reality. Sean landed a record deal, something most young artists can only dream about. Not long after, he released his first single, Beautiful Girls. If you were around back then, you probably remember it. The song had this catchy, sing-along vibe, and the chorus stuck in your head whether you wanted it to or not. Within months, it went double platinum, meaning it sold millions of copies. It shot up to #1 on the Billboard charts, and the music video went on to collect over 1 billion views on YouTube. That's the kind of success that changes everything overnight. One day, Sean was just another kid. The next, he was being recognized everywhere. And remember, he was still a teenager. Things only got bigger in 2010, when he released another hit, this time with a rising star named Justin Bieber. Bieber was already becoming a global sensation, and their collaboration pushed Sean into an even brighter spotlight. Money started pouring in. Concerts sold out. He started hanging around other big-name celebrities. And when you go from a regular life to making millions at such a young age, it's easy to start thinking it will last forever. Sean bought luxury cars, splurged on jewelry, including a diamond crayon necklace worth nearly $500,000, and built an image of himself as someone who was living the ultimate dream. At this point, it looked like Sean Kingston's future was unstoppable. But in the music industry, staying on top is often harder than getting there in the first place. New artists show up every year with fresh sounds, new styles, and their own fan bases. By the mid-2010s, the music scene had changed. The same formula that made Sean's first hits so big wasn't working anymore. He kept releasing songs, but they weren't catching on the way Beautiful Girls or his collab with Justin Bieber had. Radio stations played other artists, concert crowds got smaller, and with smaller crowds came smaller paychecks. For many people in Sean's position, this is the moment when you scale back. Maybe you trade in the flashy sports car for something simpler, move into a smaller place, or take a break from the luxury shopping. But Sean didn't see it that way. He had built an image, a superstar lifestyle full of designer clothes, diamond chains, and high-end cars. People expected him to look and live like a star, and he didn't want that image to fade along with his chart rankings. So instead of adjusting his spending to match his earnings, he decided to keep living like nothing had changed. Sean was determined to hold on to that celebrity feeling, even if the money coming in wasn't enough to cover it. And this is where the real danger started. When you're used to having it all but can't afford it anymore, you have two choices: earn more money or find another way to get the things you want without paying full price. For Sean, that other way would soon take him down a path that had nothing to do with music and everything to do with scams. Sean Kingston wasn't the only one who had grown comfortable with living like a superstar. His mother, Janice Turner, better known to fans as Mama Kingston, had been right there with him through all the fame. She'd been on the tours, enjoyed the luxury homes, the VIP treatment, and the expensive gifts. But Mama Kingston also had a history that most fans didn't know about. Years before Sean ever made it big, she had already spent time in prison for bank fraud.
When I first met you, your mom was in jail, right?
She was.
Right. Okay.
Mom was in jail.
What?
This is what I'm talking about.
5 years. When we first came out.
5 years. 5 years. Jesus Christ. What she do?
Yeah, Jamaican, man. No, it is. It's crazy, but she came home to She definitely, like, before she went in, like, I was like homeless, you know what I'm saying, sleeping in a car. Everything was all twisted, and she came home to a beautiful.
In other words, she had experience in getting money and expensive things without paying for them the legal way. So, when Sean's music wasn't bringing in the same money, but his lifestyle was still burning through cash, it's not hard to see how the idea came up. Together, Sean and his mom seemed to decide that if they couldn't afford to keep buying luxury items, they'd just find a way to get them without really paying for them. They allegedly developed a system. Sean would flash his fame, name-drop celebrities, especially Justin Bieber, and convince sellers to hand over expensive items with the promise of payment later. Then, Mama Kingston would step in with fake wire transfer receipts to prove the money was on the way. But with each new scam, the risks were getting bigger, and so were the price tags. And it wouldn't be long before the plan would spiral into something much bigger than they could control. One of their first big moves happened at a local jewelry store. Sean walked in, spotted a watch worth $285,000, and instantly wanted it. Instead of talking about payment right away, he dropped the Bieber connection, promising introductions and event invites. Sean made it sound like Bieber was still his close friend. The jeweler was impressed and agreed to let Sean pay by wire transfer. Then Mama Kingston stepped in with her part of the plan. She sent the jeweler a fake bank receipt that looked like proof the wire transfer had gone through.
A luxury watch salesman from Mazal Jewelers testifying he released a $285,000 watch similar to this one when he said he was promised future celebrity clients. It was only after that salesman, too, allegedly received a fake wire transfer receipt, he said, he realized he was being scammed.
And as unbelievable as it sounds, this trick worked again. In 2017, another jeweler known as AP was lured to a Hollywood Hills mansion, one Kingston didn't even own. Sean picked out $500,000 in jewelry, paid part up front, and threw in his Range Rover to cover the rest. Except the SUV was still under finance and in Mama Kingston's name. The wildest twist? AP later discovered the mansion was actually an Airbnb, and Kingston had been long gone. By 2023, Sean Kingston was living in a huge mansion in Florida. To anyone driving by, it looked like the home of a superstar. Big gates, luxury cars in the driveway, and the kind of curb appeal that screams money. But just like the Hollywood Hills mansion from before, this one wasn't actually his. He was renting it. Still, Sean played the role of the wealthy owner perfectly. One day, he decided the house needed one more thing to really show off his celebrity lifestyle. He reached out to a custom TV company for a 232-inch entertainment wall worth over $150,000. During negotiations, he promised the company a deal. Install it now, take a small down payment, and in return, Justin Bieber, his close friend, would film commercials for them. The installers agreed and got to work. The TV was so big it wasn't just delivered. It had to be built and installed in pieces right there in the house. But when it came time to collect the rest of the payment, the games began. Sean stalled, made excuses, and promised to get the check ready. He even invited them over once, saying he'd pay in person. But when they arrived, he didn't answer the door. This went on for months. The company kept trying, thinking maybe he just needed more time, but eventually they realized they'd been scammed. They filed a lawsuit against Sean for the unpaid bill.
Beautiful Girls may have been the music star's biggest hit, but he may have lost some fans at a company that sells and installs high-end television and sound systems. According to this court document, a company called Verver Entertainment accuses Kingston of having a $150,000 system installed at the home, but failing to pay for it in full.
We know that our property is inside this house right here.
Kingston, whose real name is Kashawn Anderson, posed with the product in a photo posted on Instagram after it was installed late last year. The attorney representing that entertainment company showed us what the 232-inch television system looks like today as it was being dismantled.
Basically a sales pitch that he goes through to defraud people. He's never paid my client for this $150,000 television.
And as it turned out, they weren't the only ones. Behind the scenes, jewelers, furniture makers, and car dealers were also lining up with their own claims.
Today we got a chance to hear from a car salesman, a luxury watch salesman who say they were both duped by Kingston and his mother when they were provided fake wire transfer receipts and never paid for their products. Wednesday, the government calling car salesman Andre Bush to testify, who claims to have met with Kingston at his Southwest Ranch's rental home to sell him a Cadillac Escalade. Bush testifying he was given a fake wire transfer receipt and never received the funds, but when he attempted to take the luxury SUV back to the dealership, he said Kingston became aggravated and refused to release it. Only after receiving a down payment of $20,000 was the vehicle left at the home.
The giant TV wasn't the start of Sean's troubles. It was just the most ridiculous example of how far the illusion had gone. And soon, all of these unpaid debts and angry business owners would set the stage for a dramatic takedown that would shock everyone who still thought Sean Kingston was living the dream.
Some new video this morning of singer Sean Kingston being arrested. Right now, the celebrity is sitting in a California jail. His mom is locked up in Fort Lauderdale. So take a look at this new video just into our newsroom here. TMZ received this video of Kingston's Thursday evening arrest. He is seen being led to an RV by federal agents immediately after getting off stage during a concert.
By early 2024, Sean Kingston's unpaid bills, lawsuits, and angry victims had stacked up, and what had started as a few delayed payments had grown into over $1 million in alleged fraud, custom jewelry, high-end cars, expensive furniture, and of course, that giant TV. The police were hearing from dozens of people who claimed they'd been scammed in the same way, and the pattern was impossible to ignore. In May 2024, law enforcement made their move. A SWAT team, armed with a search warrant, rolled up to Sean's Florida mansion. Neighbors watched in shock as officers swarmed the property, hauling away cars and boxes of evidence. Inside the house, they arrested Mama Kingston on the spot. She was handcuffed, booked, and hit with several counts of wire fraud, a serious charge that can carry up to 20 years in prison per count. Sean, however, wasn't home. He was all the way across the country, performing at an event in Fort Irwin, California. But his luck ran out right after the show. As soon as he stepped off stage, authorities were waiting. The arrest was quick, no time to process what was happening. In one moment, he was a performer soaking in applause. The next, he was in handcuffs. Photos of his mugshot started circulating online within hours, shocking fans who still remembered him as the smiling teen who sang Beautiful Girls. Both Sean and his mother were extradited back to Florida to face the charges together.
It was really ridiculous, the amount of manpower they used to take a TV out.
Rosenblatt had more to say about the raid, too.
It looked like they thought Osama bin Laden had been resurrected. They had, 50 or 60 officers there, a SWAT team, long guns. They threw a dog allegedly over the fence to get in there. They destroyed a lot of the house during their search. It was, really uncalled for to arrest a 61-year-old grandmother, bring her out in handcuffs.
The total value of what they allegedly took was staggering, well over $1 million. For years, Sean had been able to keep up the illusion of wealth and success. But in that moment, with police carrying his cars away and the news blasting the raid footage, the illusion collapsed completely. The trial was a spectacle. Prosecutors told the jury that Sean and his mother had run a calculated, years-long scam. They said Sean used his fame and charm to get businesses to hand over expensive items by making big promises and name-dropping celebrities like Justin Bieber. Then, they claimed, Mama Kingston would follow up with fake payment receipts to make it look like the money was already sent.
In arguments, federal prosecutors shared dozens of text messages between mother and son as proof. Specifically, mom worried he had no money for all these jewelers, writing, "What's up with you and all this jewelry, bro? Focus on your craft," according to prosecutors. He responds in another message, "Mother, you don't listen to me, and I told you to make a fake receipt." She says, "Please screenshot and send it to him."
The defense, on the other hand, tried to paint a different picture. They argued that Sean wasn't trying to steal. He was simply living in a celebrity bubble where delays in payment were common. They said he believed the money would come eventually, from future shows, music deals, and endorsements. In their version, this wasn't fraud, it was bad business management.
Sean Kingston chose not to testify. His own attorney, though, painting him as a kid who spends too much money, a kid who isn't even aware of how much money he has, of how all of that works, and that his mother is a protective mother. They're insisting right now that what happened here were civil disagreements and not an intention to defraud.
During the trial, Sean sometimes looked frustrated, other times emotional, especially when his mother's name came up. At one point, he even told the court that his main concern was protecting her. But both of them were facing multiple counts of wire fraud, and each count carried the possibility of up to 20 years in prison. In March 2025, both were found guilty on all counts. Mama Kingston was sentenced in July 2025 to 5 years in federal prison. Kingston's sentencing is scheduled for August 2025, and depending on the judge's ruling, he could face decades behind bars.